You can use your GitHub account if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, you can just sign in with GitHub. Okay, so we're live on YouTube, February 26, 2026. Build Node.js Build Workgroup meeting. Let's get started with the first item. So clarifying usage of production tokens in GitHub Actions. Anything? Is there anything we want to talk about on this stuff?
Um,
So I don't know if much has changed. I think part of it is that we've been generally conservative about widening access to things that are currently quite restricted. And I don't think maybe everything on the list that Ulysses is, but there is something we'd want to open up. So for example, I think Jenkins release that was because there's some monitoring tool that's being run that spots when, so for the test CI, it spots when the agents go up and down. So there's like a Jenkins, is it Jenkins alerts, or there's a repository in the Node.org that's running code that Ulysses wrote that uses a token to connect to the public Jenkins, and it opens issues when a machine is offline in Jenkins. It can't do that on the release CI because you need the release CI is much more heavily restricted, and you've got a different token. And yeah, I kind of feel that it's nice in a way that the release CI is so restricted. And I think GitHub Actions is an interesting one because we do trust it to some degree, but there's also the whole question about, well, even if you trust it, what is the fallout? Should it, should something be compromised? And yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe Mailgun could be allowable if we're happy to have like the mailing list, the mailing aliases updated automatically when people merge the PRs. Because at the moment, someone merges the PR, but then somebody from build needs to actually run the script in the repository to update to actually go. It's got an API key that we pull out secrets that you run. So I mean that probably would be okay, because I think if we get to the point that we're merging the PR, that's that. And if that token is leaked, then the only thing that will be affected would be the mailing list, which I guess is just spam. I'm not sure that is that true? I suppose maybe something like the Zoom credentials might be sent there if someone requests them. But I mean, it's a question of balancing the the trust and the security, and then the question about what is the risk if the token is leaked, because it is possible to leak tokens with GitHub Actions. Hopefully not through uh, an as yet undiscovered fundamental flaw, but I mean it is quite possible to do accidentally. And yeah, this is in the whole realm of, we have existing access to things, and adding a token for something that we currently don't have a token for is widening that access, and whether that's a trade-off we're willing to make. And it's a question of what's the benefit of doing this versus the risk of it going wrong.
Yeah. I don't know if this is an option with Jenkins, but one of the patterns that is emerging that is the future of all of this is Jenkins doesn't get tokens. You use OIDC to allow a GitHub action to authenticate to, say, the release Jenkins to be able to pull data from it. And that would be something where maybe there's an OIDC plugin for release for Jenkins that would allow us to do that. I doubt it, but that might exist. With something like that, that would allow GitHub Actions to securely authenticate itself to be able to take actions and then, be able to pull data or whatever. That way there's no secure tokens to leak. Nothing can be leaked. It's sort of on the Jenkins side, you say this repo and this user in this repo using GitHub Actions is allowed to access stuff. And that's kind of the alternative. But I don't know if that exists for everything. Like obviously it's not going to work for Mailgun, but for the
So, again, it's a risk assessment that someone would need to sit down and work out and make.
Yeah.
Especially so a lot of the automation we've got in the Node project that uses GitHub Actions is using there's a GitHub account called like GitHub bot, Node.js GitHub bot. There's a GitHub account that's being used in the Node project, but crucially that does not have access to like the release Jenkins, or like there's a private org that we use for security releases and stuff. It deliberately is treated like a collaborator and not have like privileged access to things. So it might need to be, say, a different GitHub account that's not the one currently used for automation everywhere else.
Right.
That's all part of the question. So it's like, yeah, we have some tokens that are being used in the Node project for accessing GitHub, but it's got quite wide permissions, and I'm wary of reusing accounts and reusing tokens for perhaps things that they weren't designed to cover. So again, it's just not hard to know, but I think it does need a more concrete sort of explanation as to what are we doing, why, what has it got access to, and what happens in the worst case scenario that something compromises this, and then what is the fallout. Yeah, I'm sure there's technically, it's not that these are technically impossible to do. It's a question of, are we comfortable doing it? But yeah, what are we gaining? What are the potential risks and downsides? My personal view, at least for the release CI, is that if it's only to detect if the release builders are up or down, I guess it depends. I mean, it's a much smaller pool of machines than on the test CI, and usually people would let you know if a machine is down. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there is benefit in having monitoring running on it, and there is also it's a much smaller problem than the test CI. So, is it worth it? I guess is the question. But yeah, it'd be nice if Ulysses was here to
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think definitely the Mailgun thing has come up before, and again, it's like if I'm around, updating the mail server is not a huge amount of effort. I mean, it does have to be done manually each time, but we're not updating the mailing lists on a daily basis, and they tend not to be super urgent in that. No, we must update the mailing list right now. I guess it could be in the future if we discover that somebody's email has been compromised and we don't want them on the lists. But again, this is a convenience thing. Again, it's like maybe we don't mind too much if it's fully automated and someone merges a thing in and it just automatically goes and contacts the Mailgun API and updates the mailing list. Maybe that's something we're comfortable with.
Yeah. So in general, for these things, like I don't think we can come up with a blanket policy of like, yes, GitHub Actions can access tokens. But I agree that on case by case, the Mailgun token, I feel like that's fine. We should be able to do that.
Because I don't think it was in this issue, but I think there also like the other discussions about like terraforming things, and Ulysses wanted to use the sort of Terraform as a service stuff. That would have the same thing, which is you need a token. You need some way of authenticating with this, and it's the same question, isn't it? It's like whatever thing we're trying to access, if it needs a token or credentials, where is it held? And if it's automation, are we comfortable that this is going to be secure? And the answer might be yes, but like I think I agree with you that it's going to be a case by case basis, and depending on what resource it is, we may be a lot more careful with some versus others. But yeah, equally, like I'm sure Ulysses has a lot more experience with actual GitHub Actions and securing GitHub Actions. With a view to other projects in OpenJS are probably using GitHub Actions a lot heavier than say we're using in Build. So
yeah, and
there must be a lot of good practices in that area. But even if it's by design secure, I think there's still the question of we need to assume it's not that they'll never get compromised. It's like, if in the worst case it ever gets compromised, are we happy that that the fallout is contained enough that we can manage that? Because you've got to trust something.
Yeah, and we did. I mean, we have had in the past year that that compromised upstream GitHub action that one of the node projects, just a smaller sub repo was using, like that would have exposed the tokens if we were using it. So there are things like that do exist. So there is a risk there. We've got the infra level, release level, test level of access sort of baked into the build side of things. Do we have any equivalent of that on the GitHub side of things? Do we have GitHub teams set up or anything where the access control mirrors or matches our level of access?
I don't believe so for the build stuff.
So that's a different problem too, because like we could grant a token, but it might be someone that just needs access to testing machines or something, or I mean, maybe this is only for infra, or but we wouldn't want to accidentally give someone access to secrets that aren't supposed to have them.
Exactly. So at the moment, as far as I'm aware, most of the automation in Node is linked to that one GitHub account, which is, I can't remember the exact name. It's got the word GitHub bot in it, and I think it's got the word Node.js in it. But from our point of view, from the build infrastructure, we treat it like a collaborator. So it's someone who has the permissions to contribute code directly to the Node.js node project, but not necessarily have elevated permissions in, say, build infra.
Yeah.
So I deliberately treat that as a collaborator, which means that when we do things like security releases and I lock down the CI so that only access is limited to the people that need to be able to do it, the bot actually loses access. So people trying to use there's a mechanism in upstream where you can put labels on PRs, and then that causes a Jenkins CI to be started. That all stops when we lock the CI down because the bot no longer has permissions. And again, that's why I'm wary that I want to be careful that we don't just we don't have a blanket statement and then someone puts the token on that same user, which now means that user has a wider, a deeper level of access than it had previously. Oh, but it's also used in all these other workflows. So if any of those workflows got compromised and the token was exfiltrated, that you've got the escalation that it's not necessarily the automation we're talking about here that gets compromised, but something else gets compromised, and then you've got the escalation because we've reused the user or reused tokens. Well, not necessarily tokens, but that's the risk, which is that if we're not careful, it's very easy to say, oh, we're already using this user or we're already using this account to do automation, and just keep adding more and more things to that one user automation account, and not being aware that you are slowly widening the potential fallout should it get compromised at any point in time. Well, I think we do have another automation account, so there are other things we might be doing. But I think that's where we just want to be careful, which is like, I don't think it's going to be a blanket thing. But I think as and when.
Fair.
Okay. Anything else on this topic?
Just clarifying, do we have enough consensus to allow that automation of the mailing list thing to move forward? Mailgun?
Yeah, I think if nobody objects, I think that could probably proceed. I think if Ulysses really wants some sort of blanket statement, then maybe he could PR some words somewhere, and then we could PR bash the wording. But yeah, I think it would end up being something along the lines of, as long as we consider X, Y, and Z.
Submit a pull request to the policy that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, well, I think maybe
in written form.
I don't know if that's what he's after. I think that's the thing, which is like, I think conceptually it will have to be on a case-by-case basis. But if you want something written down to be a more kind of sort of, like a checklisty thing rather than a very vague come back later kind of statement, then maybe that's something we could do, which is like, if we are going to use tokens in GitHub Actions, then here's a list of questions that we need to consider the answers for, and if we all agree that the answers to these questions have things we're happy with, then we can proceed to use tokens on that particular use case. Maybe that's no way forward to address this issue. Or we just say the policy clarification is we have no policy, and every instance that comes up we have to discuss. That's valid.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Moving on to the next item. Adding Rust toolchain to CI machines.
Yes, so this is me. I have added it to the agenda for awareness. Basically, I think I'll need help in that I'm not going to be able to do the entire CI, especially like things like Windows, Mac OS, and maybe some of the other. So one of the first thing is to actually just list the machines that we're using to build the main branch of Node. Because not all the machines in the CI, some of the machines in the CI we're only using to build the older versions of Node, so we won't need Rust on those. So part of the ask is like, help build out the list in this issue of the machines that we know that we're using to build Node, the main branch of Node, and what will become Node 26. And then we can have a list of machines, and then we can try and work the way through those machines to put Rust on them. I don't know in this point of time whether we absolutely have to have Rust for everything. So for those that are less aware, the Rust is at the moment a requirement for a feature in JavaScript called temporal, which is like date calendar manipulation functions. So Upstream V8 has added that as a Rust crate, which means that if we want that in Node, which a lot of people do, they want that for Node 26, then we will have to have the Rust toolchain to build it. Node itself can do it if the toolchain is there, but there's obviously work on our side to put the toolchain there on some. So I've done that for some of the Linuxes, and Abdul and I have been talking about AX, and yeah, this issue. I thought rather than trying to, there was a little bit of discussion, I think, in the upgrade compiler toolchain one, but the upgrade compiler toolchain is really about CLang. Rust is kind of related in that Rust itself also relies on MLVM, and so on some platforms you get a codependency of both CLang and Rust on LLVM. But yeah, I didn't want to pollute the compiler toolchain one too much with the specific thing about Rust. So I've opened this so that we can track on the build side getting the Rust toolchain onto machines. It may be interesting because things like Debian, we might need Trixie, Debian 13, to have a Rust compiler new enough to compile the crate, and most of the cloud providers sort of seem to have Debian 11 and Debian 12, but not 13 yet. So yeah, that there may be some things we discover that are tricky, or need us to go and look at other things. But yeah, this issue is the build issue that we can put all the discussions around Rust toolchains and stuff from the build point of view.
Okay, thanks for the update. Yeah, you also, upstream Node.js needs to also take care of that, the big Indian patch and creating new crates and all that.
Yeah, I'll try and follow up on that.
Yeah, related to this issue. So
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Anything else on this?
No, I need to reiterate again that if people have time to help, great. But I probably when we get around to listing the Mac OS and Windows machine, we'll probably definitely need help to get those updated.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think ideally we'd aim for Node 26, but I'm not sure at this point in time it's an absolutely must-have. But I think lots of people will be disappointed if Node 26 goes out without temporal support. So that's what we're working towards.
Richard, do you know what would be needed for Rust in the cross-compile environment? Would it just need it natively, or?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if so. Rust is LLVM based, so I don't know if it can. I think Rust might be able to cross-compile, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head how to make it work. So if you look at the Node build, Node is invoking cargo. So I don't know what arguments you would need to pass or what else you might need to install in the environment to do the cross-compiling. The thing for us at the moment, so I know why you're asking this question.
Yeah.
But for the platforms that we are currently looking at for Node 26, in terms of the official platforms that we build binaries on, we do not currently cross-compile because we dropped the ARM7 cross-compile build.
ARM32, yeah.
The ARM32 cross-compile builds in Node 25, I think. Well, we're not building
A while ago, yeah.
I know why you're asking the question, Risk5 and others, but yeah, I don't know the answer to that. So yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'll have a think about it.
Again, you can build Node without the Rust toolchain. It means though that you
Sure.
won't get the temporal API. So again, this is like a judgment call as to what are the users of Node going to expect from Node 26, and is it possible that Node 26 says like, yeah, temporal is available in some circumstances, but may not be available in all of them. Or is it no? It really needs to be there, which means yes, you absolutely now need to be able to build the Rust crate somehow.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else on this topic?
Just that, Stuart, if you do find out things about cross-compiling and it needs actual arguments or environment variables, just PR that, open a PR to the building doc, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, as you know, I've managed to get the Clang cross compiler working. So the next step, I suppose, would be to try and see if we can make it work for Rust as well. But, yeah. Okay.
I mean, it might be worth. It might be worth. So I don't think the building section has a section on cross compilation, but I know that we've done it in the past. Other people have tried it.
Yeah.
You're obviously looking at that.
So
maybe
it does work.
maybe having a section in the building document that just lists what we know about cross compiling Node would be a
absolutely. Certainly, I think the process with Clang is a little bit different. So that's definitely worth doing.
I mean, it's not just the compiler, it's not just the tool chains. There are limitations on. I think V8 only allows certain architectures to cross compile to other architectures.
Yes. Yeah.
So those are things which I don't. They're definitely not written down in Node. People just hit them when they try it, and then they run into the preprocessor directives in V8 that says, no, you can't do this.
I think I hit it when I was trying to do something stupid at one point. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's an idea that if you or someone else has time to start a thing in the building document in upstream Node about cross compilation, we could dump more and more stuff in there.
Absolutely.
All right. Next topic is about standardized web infra admins and Cloudflare access. Anything new on this topic?
Cloudflare's added a lot of different features to managing users. Before it was just like, here's your user and they've got access to Cloudflare and you give them different permission things. But now there are groups and other organizational methods that we can use. So we can like give a group a role and a set of permissions and then add and remove people from those groups. So we probably want to go through what's possible now and architect a strategy around how we should manage access to Cloudflare as far as like what do people need, you know. There is still the issue where occasionally people need a account level API token, and only super admins can make those. I wish Cloudflare did not do that, but that's how it is. But for the most part, I think a lot of people just want access to look and see what's happening and be able to, you know, troubleshoot things and see the logs and stuff like that. So, yeah, we should just that needs to be looked at. And but then managing Cloudflare itself, there was that work that Ulysses had done with Terraform, which I think is a good idea. We're starting to manage Terraform. We're starting to use Terraform to manage all of our other Cloudflare instances. We're working pretty closely with Cloudflare on a lot of other Linux Foundation projects right now. So that's there will be a best practice emerge on how to manage these sorts of access and groups and things. So that's all happening in the background as well. So yeah, that's my only update on that.
Yeah, I don't think there's any objections to you to using Terraform or whatever it is to to manage Cloudflare in a Git in a Git driven way. It's just someone has to do the work to make it happen. And Ulysses had a stab at it, and yeah, it's just time and the will to push it through and to check that we're not breaking something when we deploy something.
Yeah, and there's other issues like Terraform needs to store its state somewhere. You can stick it in R2, which is a great thing. But if you're also using Terraform to manage your Cloudflare access as well as your own state file, then you get into this chicken and egg thing where you're like, oops, something broke and we can't fix it. So that's
especially I think one of the conversations was whether the Cloudflare config lived in the build repo or in a private one, and I think we said let's go private repo to start with.
Yeah,
because
well,
we could always make the decision to push it to public later on, but if it's public to start with, and then when we find no, we really didn't want to do that, it's too late. So
yeah, and that's just the config, but there's the state file, which is essentially the live database that reflects like how is everything configured and running, and that lives somewhere. That has to be somewhere that's accessible on some infrastructure somewhere. And so the service that Ulysses had connected to for that, it's a service that allows for this, but that's all very bonded with HashiCorp's Terraform, and the LF has pivoted towards Tofu and Open Tofu and the whole split there that has happened. That is, I don't know how many projects we have where there are.
So I think this is where the early statement you said other, the LFIT using deploying this on other projects. That will be the area where we'd be looking for, like, if some best practices come out of that, that would be the ideal. That if there's something, so yeah, if that's something that needs to be done for all, if you're managing Cloudflare through Terraform, that you need to store the state somewhere, and then the question is, where is that state stored? I presume then that it would be better if there was a recommended
yeah
best practice from, like, across the LFIT managed projects, and then
and all of our projects are using
unless there was a good reason that Node is such an outlier that we shouldn't, but I don't see that at the moment.
I mean, currently all the ones we manage go into our AWS account, into an S3 bucket on that side, and there's no AWS at Node, so there's that. So outlier and just at least that, but there's equivalencies. We could probably get another Cloudflare account that is not the same Node account that we can store it in. That would actually probably be a fine idea for that, because it just needs a minor amount of R2. It's just a file that we can lock down. Anyways, that's all I had to say on that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anything else on this? Moving on.
I can't remember. Was that still a very high level one, or was somebody actually after access? It doesn't matter. We can do that offline. Yeah, I can't remember if someone was actually after access.
Oh, there is a new access request.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay.
But you know that can all just be click ops for now.
Yep. Fair enough.
Okay. Next item is CLang and upgrading the compiler toolchain. I'm not sure if anything new happened in this.
There is progress. Is progress the word? Abdurrahim and I have been looking at AX. So the good news is that we did update Ansible and got a CLang compiler on the AX machines in the CI. The bad news is that the build failed because it was missing header files. So Stuart's also got involved. We are comparing AX machines in the Node CI to AX machines in Adoptium and AX machines that Abdurrahim has within IBM, and trying to look at the what are they called? Additional bits of software that are installed, PTFs, IBM calls them PTFs, that are installed on the machine, and trying to work out what the minimum additional things we might need to install onto the AX machines. Because the CLang we're installing is from a Git repository that is IBM developed, but it doesn't list on there that you also need other dependencies. So we are trying to work backwards from the errors we're getting. But yeah, we are trying to get CLang on the AX machines. Or we've got it. We're just trying to get it working.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be some manual steps to install some of the the runtime libraries and other header files from AIX. So that will be something we'll need to add to that document we have for manual steps to fully document that. Parth did send me some notes today about what's needed, so I can pass that along. And we have that PR open and probably put all the details in that PR and update the README.
Okay. And we also need to look at if we need to install extra things on the build machines. Does that mean that when we start building the binaries on that people downloading the binaries from the website will also need to install things on their AX machines to run the binaries, and that's something we need to figure out as a documentation.
Yes. Yes, there probably is going to be a dependency on the runtime libraries that we installed.
And yeah, that's it from the AX side. I don't know if there's anything else from the compilers.
Yeah.
Okay. Abdurrahim, were you saying anything?
Yeah, I was just gonna say there is a PR that needs to get merged for the AX side of things. That's pretty much approved. I just need to get it merged across. But that should be done hopefully sooner than later. That's one other thing.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we haven't heard from other teams like SmartOS.
I don't remember. Did Michael Zasso ask about the Hetzner machines and getting those to Ubuntu 24?
Oh, I have stood up 2 Hetzner machines.
Mm-hmm.
I got as far as Ansibling them, and the Ansible failed.
Okay.
And I shelved it, and it's been on the shelf for months, and I need to unshelve it and finish that. It was just like, what's wrong with the Ansible? And
okay, if it's just a question of Ansible, then maybe someone else in the build working group can take that on. I guess the question was uncertainty as to the state. But if the machines are if the machines are provisioned and have the SSH key, then presumably someone else in the build working group could try and get the Ansible scripts working.
Yeah, that would yeah. Okay, I'll add a commit to add them to the inventory.
Yes.
They are
helpful.
And that should do it.
Yeah,
that would be great, because I've just been kind of sitting on these, being like, I need to get that done, and and it's just lots of other things have been piling up, like
Yes.
the C cache on OS X.
We're still having problems there.
Yeah, no, I mean, not still, more like it just finally filled up. And after, a year of no problems or so. And cleaning it up is being immensely painful.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the this issue talking about CLang, but then there's the other issue we're talking about, which is Rust. So, if it's something that maybe I could take a look. If the machines are there, So if you can get them added to the inventory if they're not already there,
Yeah,
that'd be great. And then maybe someone else could, because I think the original pings to you were because the Hetzner machines are not ones that we can easily.
right. And I've been trying to we've determined at OpenJS that we can definitely like grant build working group access to Hetzner. It's just been one of those, like, this is the only one where you push a button and real money gets spent. So there was always a hesitance to
and like
give the community access to accidentally spend money.
I'm not sure that any of us are saying, hey, we would love to be put in a position where we could accidentally cost the elephant money. It's just a case of that, if in this case it's a case of creating a new machine and then maybe taking down the old one, if that is via whatever mechanism that is, whether that's via you or the tickets to the project board, whatever that is, we can work with that. It's just a question of being clear as to if it's now actually the machines are there, but anyone in the build working group can then finish it off.
That's where they're at right now. All it lacks is me adding them to the inventory. Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, just knowing that, I think, would help move this along, rather than the people scratching their heads thinking, actually, maybe we're still waiting for someone else to do something. And if the question is actually, that doesn't need to be a wait, that could be one of us picking it up, then I think that's a better, that's an okay position to be in.
Tangentially related. If anybody has any ideas on how we could not use these Hetzner machines and find some other place, Hetzner's just been unbelievably complicated to work with from a billing perspective. They are wildly hard to talk to. and to the point that it's infuriating. We were set up on invoices, and they were supposed to send us an invoice, and we were going to pay it. Invoice, pay it. That's what we've been doing. I stood up these 2 new machines. They sent us an invoice for the old machines and then charged our credit card for the new machines. And we have like a credit card with like no limit attached to that account. And it was like, why are you charging us for this? And they're like, that's how it's set up. It's like, no, it's not. And it's every time we've had to get on the phone with Hetzner, it's been painful. So if we could come up with any other way, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know where to get bare metal. But
so just for background, for I guess scene setting, these machines were replacing 2 dedicated physical machines that Neoform used to host for the project. And these machines are used for 2 purposes. One is benchmarking, and the other one is to build. We have some CI jobs that build the copy of V8 in Node as running it as a V8 build, and that's being run on those machines because it's actually quite intensive to build V8 without. Effectively, it's mainly for testing new versions of V8, which means that a lot of the cache is invalidated. So you're almost building with very little C cache hits, which is partly why having the number of CPUs that these machines have and the amount of memory that these machines have. That's why we're using those for the V8 builds. I think those could, if absolutely necessary, be transitioned elsewhere, although that would mean they would take a lot longer. But the benchmarking ones, I don't know where we can move those and still be confident.
The CPU and memory isn't an issue because we can move those to cloud providers and still get that kind of CPU memory performance. It's the requirement that the micro benchmarking, and this totally makes sense. I understand why they need this, but the micro benchmarks, they don't want any other variables to change. Even if you were to get a cloud provider bare metal machine, memory and CPU is slightly different in case by case. So, like, I get it, but I'm just hoping we can find literally any other provider that offers dedicated hardware that we could negotiate with, and
Yeah,
I can't seem to find anybody that isn't
I don't. Yeah, I don't know
quadruple the
answer to
price.
that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I'm just throwing that out there if anybody's listening. Please help us.
Yeah, that's quite interesting because normally I've heard very good things about Hetzner and I've used them in the past. So this is the first time I've heard of an issue with them. So
Oh, I mean, if you work within the boundaries of what Hetzner does, they're great. They're
yeah,
very inexpensive and everything works exactly
indeed, yeah.
how you want it to. It's just the Hetzner's got a lot of policies built around the fact that bad actors use them as much as they can because of their cheapness, and they have
Yes,
a lot of defensive things put in place and a lot of
sure.
structures in place to defend against that, and it makes it difficult for a large corporate organization kind of thing to have standard accounting practices in place, and you know, it's just an awkward sort of thing. Like if you were just putting it on your credit card, it works great, everything's fine. You know, it's just the invoice billing and getting, you know, hey, we want to do a net 30 payment. Our accounting department's going to take 30 days to pay this. And they're like, nope, that's not acceptable. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you know, that sort of stuff. Anyways, yeah, I've said my piece on that one. I don't want to keep taking that time up.
Yeah, it's the other project that I work on under the Eclipse Foundation. You know, Jenkins server is actually hosted on Hetzner. So
yeah, no, their servers are great. The resource is great. It's just
Mhm.
the administrative side of their billing side of things that are complicated.
Good to know.
Okay. Anything else on the on this topic? Compiler topic? Yep. All right, moving on. Extending Azure credits. Let's see.
This one may just still be kind of a leftover. I can just give a quick update on this. We were running low on credits in the Node account. We have some machines that we had to move over to the OpenJS account. The OpenJS account, I have not yet figured out the permissioning model that I need to set up so that the build working group can have access there, but have access to Node.js stuff and not everybody's stuff. So I'm still trying to figure that out. The Stefan negotiated some more credits that extended us from like we're about to be shut off to now we've got 10 more months. And then, but in order to save some money, he turned off a couple of ARM machines. And then now we have a Windows ARM person coming out saying, hey, you know, I'd like to work with you guys to get some more credits into this account. And so that may also be an issue. We were working on trying to get some of the GitHub Secure Open Source Fund credits transferred into there. And everybody on the support side was like, we can't do anything to extend credits. We can't move these. We can't do anything with it. It has to be completely separate. And so we just sort of gave up on that. But then around the same time, that's when these other credits came out of the woodwork and did extend our credits. And the credits and sponsorship and all of the different accounting tricks and things that people are doing on the Microsoft side make this a complicated sort of picture. But, you know, it's working itself out. So, you know, ideally, I would like to move the ARM resources that, you know, the Linux ARM resources that we lost from those ARM machines from Equinix off of Azure, or at least off of the OpenJS account and into the Node account. That would be nice. Or it'd be nice to get this all underneath one large, you know, billing account or something. But, you know, for now, it's working. So, but that's the latest. There is that we may be getting some more credits to support Windows and ARM. And I'm going to talk to him and be like, are you the Windows and ARM person, or are you the ARM person? Because if you're the ARM person, it'd be great to be able to move all of this workload over there so that it's all in the same place.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? And moving on to the next item, enabling Rust support for temporal.
Yeah, so I'm wondering that now that I've opened the other issue to actually track updates to the build machines, whether this issue needs to be on the build agenda. So yeah, to get Rust working in Node, there's the build, the actual configure build side of things, which I think are mostly done. And we're mainly waiting to get an updated version of V8 into Node and then maybe turn it on or off by default. But from our point of view, from the build working group, the issue I've created is mainly about getting the tool chain installed on across the CI. So I don't think there's anything for us to do other than to get the tool chain on the machines, but that may influence, we may find that we might need to tweak some of the build files because of the way Rust works on a particular platform OS. So maybe the Rust discussions we can just have under 4245. That's not to say that the Node issue I think needs to stay open, because that's the more, that's coming from having that in Node from the point of view of people building it themselves or running Node on their machines. But the one I've opened for build is specifically for what we need to do in build to support this. So yeah, I think we could take the build agenda item off of the Node.js Node one and discuss all the things we need to do under the Node.js Build one. And yeah, and leave the Node.js Node one open for like anyone hitting, actual compilation problems or, build file changes that need to be made, or, maybe like, things like anything we need to backport into the crates, we've got under here. But yeah, the actual changes to the build machines, I think, should be in the build issue.
Okay. I don't think I have permissions to remove this label. Can
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you. Okay. So anything else on that topic? Nothing else. All right. Well, that's the end of the items that we have under the agenda. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
Yes. One thing. This came up on Wednesday. Node 22 was trying to be released on Wednesday, and it hit a snag with one of the ARM OS X machines. And I went and took a look, and it appears as though our shared virtual machine storage is full. Now, it's strange because the shared VM storage is reporting space in a rather weird way. Like as I remove things, it says the size of the disk and the amount that's used just stays in parallel. Like the disk size keeps shrinking as the free space keeps, as I free up space. So something is wrong with the reporting. So maybe it's not actually full. Other builds appear to be working. So I'm not sure why. I guess if it filled up completely, that should have blocked all OS X tests and builds, like because the Ccache would have just not been responsive, and that disk would have made all of those instances not work. So there is a plan when we have a extra machine designed to be a new Ccache server that would instead replace the local file system that is this strange shared VM storage that OS X is getting rid of, and replace it with a Valkey / Redis network-based Ccache, which Ccache supports. The cleanup on this strange mounted NFS file system that is being shared between the instances is taking an insane amount of time. Like it takes 5 minutes to clear 2 gigabytes out of one directory, and but I can't tell if I'm cleaning up enough space or not, because nothing is really changing, because it just looks like it's 100% full and has used 3.5 billion inodes, and everything is reporting weird. I think it's because of this strange NFS thing, which is probably why Max Stadium was like, actually, we're just going to not support this process going forward. So I'm kind of at this crossroads of, do I try and make the old thing work like it used to and thus change less things but try and clean things up? Or do I put my focus on building out this new methodology which implies a period of slowness while the cache populates for all tests and things as I switch stuff over. And this is blocking the release. Maybe, I mean, maybe they could try a release now, because now a couple hundred gigs at least have freed up. At least it's a couple of hundred gigs have freed up. It doesn't look free, but it is clean. So yeah, it's just sort of a question of what I should do moving forward. And it's sort of does anybody have any instincts on this of like introducing a new caching mechanism that should work better, or trying to heal the very non-earthquake proof bridge that we have now? It's
I
sort
guess
of the
I guess the question is it an either or situation? I don't. So
well, it's
I'm
for the immediate.
yeah,
In the
yeah,
future,
yeah,
it's definitely moved to the new thing.
yeah.
But
No,
for this release
so
blocking.
I am aware, for example, that Zcash supports the Redis-based backend.
Yeah.
Whatever. I just can't remember if it's like an option that, if it can't find something in local storage, it can go to Redis, or whether it's you have to choose where it goes to.
You choose where it goes. You just tell
Yeah.
it this is where to go for the cache. And so
Mhm.
it does add
Mm.
dependency on the network, and the networking can be, if the network fails, that I don't know how solid the network is. And I mean, this is all within Mac Stadium and inside of the same VPC, and they should theoretically all be plugged into the same switch even, but
Yeah.
it's different. So that there's that.
Yeah.
Now, one of my colleagues works on the PyTorch project, and they have a massive Cache that they are using with SC Cache, the one that also supports Rust that I had mentioned in a different thread, that they use S3 as their cache backend. And so
Okay.
it proxies it out to S3 and comes back. And he said that works fine. And so maybe a local network thing is not that big of a deal. If they're going all the way out to S3 and back to do this, then maybe this is not that large of an issue. But these are just things. But
Yeah, I mean, I think in the worst case, if the network isn't available, I presume it just builds it as if there's no cache. It's like the
Yeah.
cache is built, and it
Right.
builds it, and it just takes however much longer to build. So it you would still get a build. It would just be a lot longer than if the network was working.
Right.
So yeah, it's probably okay, I guess. But I guess the question is like in a question of where do you spend your time is I don't know how much effort it's going to take to switch to the network-based Zcash.
It shouldn't be too bad, actually. It's really just a matter of, like, I've already got a machine.
Right.
It's already part of the cluster, so all I have to do is just stand up a VM on it and then Ansible that VM. Now, this is another one of those complicated things where working with the Orca cluster is like layer upon layer of access, where you have to hook the VPN up to it, and then you have to log into the cluster, and then you have to, once you get all that set up, then you can do something like Ansible a VM. It's not as straightforward as the whole rest of the infra, as far as like there's a machine and your SSH key just connects. It's more like all these other steps. And so there's a process of getting it built that I know how to do. I don't like having a machine that's floating around in the infra that I'm the only one that knows how to do that. So there's also that, and I got to document all of that. So I think most of that's documented in the OSX stuff, but it just it's a thing. So that's yeah, those are the only, and so, but once that's going, then it's really probably just installing, well, the part that is not like straightforward to me is there a lot of configuration on Valkey that needs to happen to make this fast and work well? Like, does it come out of the box intended for one thing and we needed to do something else, and I need to figure all that out? Like, that's not stuff that I'm like at the tip of my, like, I'm a Valkey expert. I know exactly which tuning parameters to tune and what needs to be done. Like that's sort of a black box to me, but I'm hoping that out of the box it just works.
Yeah, me too. If that's all we're going to, because I don't know if anyone else in the working group has any experience there or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think as in terms of the build, I think it was like Node 22 because that's still running on the Mac OS 13 runners. No, is that right? We have 13
I
runners.
think so. Yeah.
Is it 15 or something? 16?
There's 13 and 15 is the
Yeah,
runners we
13 and
have.
15. So I think that one misbehaving thing is on the 13 machine. So that's why it only came up with the Node 22 builds, because we do nightly builds, and 25 was okay because Node 25 was built on the 10, 15. Sorry, on the
Yeah,
Mac OS.
that's why this is strange. Is it's like
So,
maybe
yeah,
it was just it might have been just a temporary hiccup. And I looked in, and then this weird reporting says size 1.8 terabytes, used 1.8 terabytes. Like, I don't think we are supposed to have 1.8 terabytes of shared VM storage.
Okay.
I think it's supposed to be only 500 gigs, but it like somehow that is working. So
yeah, I mean, in terms of holding up releases, it's holding up Node 20 and 22 if we do releases there, and then 24, 20. Is that right? Did we move 24? Can't remember. But definitely like 25 and main, yeah, they're building on the 10 on the macOS 15 machine, which so far has been okay. So yeah, there is an element of it blocking releases, but it's not every release line. It's so far it's the earlier ones. So yeah, it's
tangentially related. Is 20 goes into life in like April? Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Neat.
Yeah.
I just like seeing old releases stop, and then the support level of old things gets to.
Yeah. No. We you're not the only one that has looking out on the horizon and seeing when can we drop this thing? It's down the line. Yeah. 20 will be.
All right. Well, I think I will ping the releaser again and say I try again. It should work now.
Okay. Yeah.
And then maybe the cleanup is actually done, and it gives me buys me a little more time, because I just don't see why this is all working everywhere else and just not there.
Okay. Yeah, because they're all ephemeral machines, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just this cache, and it just like that machine just stalled and just stopped. And then he tried it again, and it just stopped again. And so,
yeah, so that's the weird oddity, because it's not like a state in the runner, because the runner's ephemeral. So it's got to be some way, something to do with the way the storage is mounted into the VM or something. But yeah, I don't know. You know as much as I do, or more in this case. So yeah, it just seems really weird. Yeah,
it's some form of NFS that on the x86 machines is using the Plan 9 network file share, and then on the ARM machines it's using VirtIOFS, which is a different, and it gets down to low level file system stuff that's even that I'm like, I don't know what this means. So
again, I guess one of the questions that we don't need to answer right now is like, for the package builds where we build the installers for macOS, we are building those on the ARM machines. So we're building the Intel macOS binary on the ARM machine under Rosetta, and then building the actual M1, the actual ARM Mac binary on the same machine, and then pasting them together as a universal. Is it universal binary installer? But yeah, whatever the terminology is. So we are building the Intel binary for the PKG installer.
Yeah.
On ARM. So in theory, it would probably require us to have a think about it. We might be able to build the Intel standalone tarball on ARM under Rosetta. This is, it may not be as simple as I'm describing, but in theory, that might be.
I mean, if we can eliminate.
But then the other question is,
x64, that would be
do
just
Apple-
like,
Yeah.
that'd be so nice.
At what point do Apple actually just drop support for Intel Macs? In
Oh,
which
they-
case, when is Node able to just stop producing binaries on? I suppose the
So-
problem is you've got the long tail, don't you? So
Yeah, well, Apple has declared it. Tahoe, the OS X 17 or 26, depending on how you want to look at it. Tahoe is the very last full release that will support Intel. So next year there will not.
Yeah, I was going to ask, is that's not the current release, is it? It's like the future release or something.
No, it's the current one. It's the current one. Tahoe is the one that's out now. The next release will not have OS Intel support. So, so that's definitely coming. But if we could use Rosetta to build the tarballs and eliminate the entire OS X, the x64 chain, that would be amazing. And also, we might want to think about whether we need tarballs at all. Whether we just support PKGs. I don't know who's using those,
Yeah, I don't know, because I mean, on the one hand, because the PKGs are universal, it means they're twice the size to download because they've got both architectures in them. I don't know. I don't use Macs, so this is all.
I mean, I would
stuff
imagine
needs to support, but doesn't affect me personally.
I was just gonna say, I would imagine if you're using something like NVM, it would be pulling down the tarballs, right? You wouldn't want to be using the packages for that.
I would assume so. Yeah.
If you're what?
Using NVM.
If you're using a version manager to install Node, or for example, if you're running Node workloads on GitHub Actions on Mac, if you're running on the Intel runner, I presume it's just pulling down the tarballs. And I think GitHub are now mirroring the tarballs, so they're not downloading from our infrastructure directly, because we had issues before we moved to R2 where downloads were a little bit unreliable. I guess we probably do need the tarballs. I think there is a question about whether we still need both XZ and gzip compression things, but that's a minor thing. If you can build the tarballs, gzip, and then more XZ compressing them, they're fairly minor things.
It's just a space issue, that's all. Yeah.
And it's mainly if it becomes too difficult to maintain Intel macOS images, then maybe we do need to invest time to see if we know we were building the binaries for the PKG packages in Rosetta, that in theory we should be able to build the tarballs as well.
Yeah, I mean, and the number of people that need the Intel specific binary, like I don't know that many people in GitHub Actions are doing that sort of stuff. I don't know many people. It starts to get to where it's such a long tail, long tooth kind of thing that it just I think if we could make those tarballs using Rosetta, and they're maybe not the most efficient version of Node, but nobody should be running a highly optimized production workload on an Intel Mac. That's the.
I'd hope not, but you never know.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing that it's hard to guesstimate, but you know for certain that when you cut it off, somebody will come out of the woodwork to complain, and then it's just a question of are we convinced that they're going to be in a significant minority that whenever you cut something, you upset someone, and it's I don't know.
All right. Well, OS X always just a little different, but yeah, we got it worked out. All right. Well, I don't have anything else to say on that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Anything else we want to talk about? All right. If there's nothing else, then thank you for your time. I'm going to stop recording, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
Bye.